Hey everybody, welcome back to Shiny Dragon Games. I thought I would just do another morsel for your mind for Chameleon Skinks. Just thinking over this unit, I have personal really good feelings about it, having played it a couple of times. I haven't played with it multiple times, and I just really feel like it's an awesome strategic addition to any army that you're playing out there. I think it's often overlooked because Skinks are the more economical decision, especially with needing to capture objectives with large units. But here's where I think this unit really shines the brightest, is its ability to be so mobile, especially late in the game as a late reinforcement that's sure to come in. And so really the big part, first off, looking at the War Scroll, I think the one thing that sticks out first is the Star Venom. And if you look at how many shots, 2 shots per person with a not bad ranged attack. I mean, it's not the best, but it's good enough to make a dent. That really ups it with the Star Venom, making potential damage 2 on all of their shots. So if you bring in 5, that's 10 shots. You bring in 10, that's 20 shots with potential of doing 2 damage on some of those shots, which is huge for them. But I think where their biggest one is their chameleon ambush ability. That's not the right word for it, but basically their ability to leave the battlefield in a hero phase and come back on any subsequent one that you elect for them to come back on. I think that's huge. That's a huge advantage. Why I say that is because that really leaves you a lot of strategic options. For me, when I was playing it, I find that it worked best late game because what you could do is literally hold off the table, pull them off the table turn 1, be back on the table turn 3 and 5 if you want, because you're leaving every other turn. And that's huge because you are able to say, you know what, I'm for sure coming back in on turn 3. And so in a tournament, you are getting hard pressed on all sides, and sure, they're not going to play a huge part in it initially. They're not going to be there for those shots, but late game, they can pop out of nowhere and steal an objective from your opponent. Especially scary whenever you combine that with the new Seraphon ability to, teleport anywhere across the board. Because if you think about it, you aren't stuck. Before, they were pretty good with their ability to pull off the table every other, but if you got yourself stuck in a position where you're going to be waiting a turn or so, that was really it could really be the end of the Chameleon Skinks. But now that you can move them, you could technically not need to peel them back off, but use the teleportation for that unit to pop onto somewhere else, maybe save them for another time, or pull them off if it's necessary, especially because they can be pulled off even while in melee. So this unit is it can be a huge boon to your objective grabbing game. Yeah, they're not going to come in the huge unit that like a Skink unit normally does, but really what they're there for is cleanup. What I would recommend is coming in, starting turn 1, coming in on turn 3. If you foresee the game going to turn 5, shooting someone on the objective, rushing the objective, but then peeling off in 4, and then once again coming back in 5 for a late game objective grab. And why I say I think that's a really effective strategy is because if you consider grabbing those objectives, your opponent is going to start moving things up to the key positions on turn 3 and 4. They're really trying to take your objectives. They'll be pressing you, which means they're going to be leaving that backfield open and ripe for these guys to come in. If you bring them in turn 3 and then in turn 5 subsequently, they're going to really have the opportunity to, shoot the crap out of one unit, then run into melee, maybe lose a couple Skinks. That's fine. Pull off in turn 4 at the top of turn 4 if you can ensure that, and then back in on turn 5 for another shoot, and then take off the last of those units. And that's really critical because who's sitting in that backfield is those little weak units that they don't need to move up because they're not going to add anything to your battle They're just there for objective grabbing. But the skink unit is really good countermeasure to that. It either forces those units to move up, or in better terms, it stays back there and waits for the skinks to prey on them. So I really think this is a key unit that you could be using. It could be in a lot of different builds, but just a really good unit.